I still remember that night clearly because it was the moment everything I thought I knew about basketball changed. All the confidence I brought with me, all the hype, all the noise from college suddenly felt far away. Walking into that arena, I believed I was ready. I believed the hard work, the pressure, the expectations had already prepared me for anything. But there's a difference between thinking you're ready and actually being tested when nobody cares about your past. That night, I stepped onto the court feeling like myself and walked off realizing the WNBA was a completely different world. From the opening minutes, the game felt faster, stronger, sharper. Every cut had resistance, every drive had contact, every possession felt earned instead of given. There were no easy moments to settle in, no space to breathe. Shots that felt automatic in college suddenly came with hands in my face and bodies leaning into me. And when I hit the floor for the first time, I waited for a whistle that never came. That's when it hit me. This league doesn't care who you were before. It only cares about what you can survive right now. As the game went on, I could feel the weight of it all. Not fear, but awareness. Awareness that I wasn't being welcomed. I was being tested. Like the league was asking me a question without words, saying, "So you think you belong here?" And standing there, catching my breath, I realized something important. This night wasn't about winning or losing. It was about learning, about understanding that respect here isn't announced. It's earned, possession by possession. And that was the moment I knew the WNBA was different. As the minutes passed, I stopped thinking about the crowd and started listening to my body. The hits landed harder than I expected. Screens felt heavier. Defenders didn't just guard space, they guarded intention. Every move I made was anticipated, challenged, disrupted. I realized quickly that talent alone wouldn't buy me time here. There was no grace period, no patience for adjustment. If I hesitated for even a second, the game punished me for it. At one point, I caught the ball in the wing, saw a sliver of daylight, and drove with confidence. I felt the contact immediately. Shoulder to chest, balance gone. I hit the floor again and looked up, almost instinctively, waiting for the call. Nothing. No whistle. Just the sound of sneakers running back the other way. That's when frustration crept in, not anger, but disbelief. Back in college, plays like that were moments. Here, they were normal, expected, and suddenly, everything made sense. This wasn't about flash or reputation. This was a league built on strength, patience, and survival. When the timeout came, I sat on the bench, breathing heavy, sweat dripping, heart racing. The scoreboard didn't matter. The stat line didn't matter. What mattered was the feeling settling into my chest, the understanding that this level demands more than confidence. It demands humility, it demands adaptation. And as I stared out at the court, I knew that if I wanted to last here, I couldn't rely on who I used to be. I had to become something tougher, smarter, more resilient. That realization didn't discourage me, it challenged me. By the second half, the game had stopped feeling chaotic and started feeling honest. Every possession was clear, nothing was hidden. If I wanted space, I had to create it. If I wanted respect, I had to take it. There were no shortcuts and no excuses. The veterans on the floor weren't rushed. They didn't force moments or chase highlights. They waited. They absorbed pressure and then punished impatience. Watching that in real time taught me more than any film session ever could. This league doesn't reward panic, it rewards control. I started paying attention to the details, how defenders angled their hips, how help came early, how physicality was used without looking reckless. I realized that what felt like aggression was actually discipline. Every bump had purpose. Every silence from the officials carried a message. This wasn't personal. This was the standard. And once I accepted that, my frustration faded into focus. There was a moment late in the game when I took a shot I would normally hesitate on, not because it was risky, but because it required commitment. No bailout, no reset, just trust. The ball didn't go in, but something clicked. I wasn't chasing comfort anymore. I was learning the language of this league. I could feel the shift happening internally. The fear of getting hit, of being denied, of looking inefficient, it began to loosen its grip. That night wasn't breaking me. It was showing me exactly where I needed to grow. When the final buzzer sounded, I didn't feel disappointment the way I expected to. I felt awake, fully aware of where I was and what this league required. In the locker room, the noise from the arena faded, replaced by a quiet that felt heavier than any crowd. Nobody rushed to speak. Nobody needed to. Every player there understood what nights like that meant. They weren't setbacks. They were checkpoints. Moments where the league reveals itself to you and waits to see how you respond. I sat there replaying certain possessions in my head, not with frustration, but with clarity. I could see where I hesitated, where I relied on instincts that worked before but needed refinement now. It wasn't humbling in a way that shrinks you. It was grounding. For the first time since arriving, I stopped thinking about proving something and started thinking about learning something. That shift mattered because once you stop defending your image, you create space to grow. Walking out of the arena that night, I felt the soreness settling in, but also something else, respect. Not the kind that comes from applause, but the kind that comes from understanding the rules of the room you just entered. This league doesn't ask for belief, it asks for commitment. And standing there, exhausted but clear-headed, I knew this night would stay with me. Not as a warning, but as a starting point. The days that followed, that night stayed with me more than any box score ever could. In practice, I moved differently, I listened more, I stopped rushing moments that didn't need speed and leaned into ones that demanded patience. I studied film with a new lens, not looking for highlights, but for habits, the subtle things veterans did that kept them balanced when the game tried to pull them apart. I realized the WNBA doesn't reward force for the sake of force. It rewards understanding, timing, precision. I stopped measuring myself against who I had been before. College wasn't the standard anymore. Reputation wasn't the currency. What mattered was whether I could adjust without losing myself. And slowly, that balance started to form. I took contact without flinching. I made reads without hesitation. I trusted that being uncomfortable was a sign that growth was happening. That night didn't tell me I wasn't ready. It showed me what ready actually looks like. There was a quiet confidence that came with that understanding. Not loud, not performative, just steady. I didn't need the game to feel easy anymore. I needed it to feel real. And the more I accepted the reality of this league, the more natural my place in it began to feel. That's when I knew the shift was complete. I wasn't just surviving the WNBA anymore. I was learning how to belong in it. Looking back now, that night stands out not because it was painful, but because it was honest. It stripped away everything unnecessary, the noise, the expectations, the version of myself built on past success, and left only what mattered: effort, awareness, willingness to grow. I stopped asking whether I was good enough and started asking better questions. Was I prepared to learn? Was I prepared to fail forward? Was I prepared to stay present even when nothing felt comfortable? What I came to understand is that the WNBA doesn't try to intimidate you. It tries to reveal you. It shows you who you are when talent meets resistance and confidence meets consequence. And once I saw that clearly, the fear disappeared, because fear comes from not knowing. That night gave me knowledge. It gave me direction. It taught me that this league isn't different because it's harder. It's different because it demands honesty from you every single possession. From that point on, every game felt purposeful. Not easier, but clearer. I knew what was required, and I knew I could rise to it. That night didn't slow me down. It anchored me. It became the moment I stopped arriving as a rookie and started staying as a professional. And no matter how many games I play from here on, that realization will always travel with me, reminding me that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confronting reality and choosing to move forward anyway. That night didn't make headlines. There was no dramatic quote or viral clip attached to it. But for me, it mattered more than almost any win I've had, because it was the night I stopped measuring myself by what people expected and started trusting what I was becoming. I didn't leave the arena feeling defeated. I left understanding that I had entered a league that tells the truth, not with words, but with how it plays you. And once you hear that truth, you can't ignore it. I stopped wishing the game would slow down. I stopped hoping for comfort. Instead, I leaned into the challenge, because that's where respect lives. The WNBA doesn't hand out belief. It waits for you to earn it, possession by possession, night after night. And that's exactly what makes it special. That's what makes it real. So when people ask me when I knew things were different, I don't talk about records or crowds or pressure. I talk about that night, the night the game demanded more and showed me exactly how much more I could give. That's when I stopped trying to arrive and started learning how to stay. That's when I didn't just play in the WNBA, I became part of it.